All right, welcome back, Saints Nation. The second game of our doubleheader here today for NECC Overwatch. It's about to get underway. Bryan and Stratton College up against St. Clair College. Saints had a bit of a rough one off the start here versus UTD, but let's see if they could swing it into their favor here versus BSC. My name's Dan Banner, also known as Mr. Danners, joined alongside Jackson DePry Brown. And what are you thinking about this one?
There's a lot to dissect here, right? I mean, BSC, sorry, Bryan and Stratton just came off of a game themselves here, losing it 1-2. So they did still find a map here where the Saints did not. And it's going to be now up to St. Clair here to try to find one for themselves because they haven't been able to find one against UT Dallas. So this is where things are trying to get turned around here now. And let's see if this one can get started. It is going to be Bryan and Stratton College and St. Clair getting things started right here, right now. The control point will be unlocking in 20 seconds or so, but the initial team fights coming in right here.
All right, going to dive right on in here. It's going to be OBL on the side of Bryan Stratton to get things started. Cyber rolling it out here with Apostle is going to end up winning that one as well. Close quarters action here is definitely going to be favoring the side of BSC for at least the time being. OBL does end up getting DMAXed here, however, so a little bit less tanky. Cyber once again going to find one, going to find two, making some serious work out of that flame strike, and it should be BSC getting this first capture point.
Yeah, I believe OBL is one of their stronger players from the side of Bryan and Stratton as well. He's one of those players I've heard his name a few times in the scene, and he's definitely been one of those impact players. But it is going to be Bryan and Stratton starting off with that control point in their favor. Over to the 10% marker here now as the Saints try to regroup and get into this point. It is going to be OBL on a 5-player streak as Slater and Set each take down Arjunk and Apostle.
That was a little bit rough there for St. Clair. I like what they're trying to do with the Symmetra turrets and whatnot, but not the turrets, but the teleporter, and it did not quite go into their favor. They dived on in, instantly got focused down, so Bailable actually popped the ultimate, so the big shield came out too and just absolutely got no value out of it. Set there on the side of BSC from the support role, finding a couple eliminations for himself as well. Just a little bit of extra defense from the back line, really securing some of these elims and making it very difficult for the Saints to try and get in there. However, so that's another one, but this time it's going to be Set popping the ulti, so big damage through the window if your shots do end up going through there, and that is going to allow for both Jimical to find a double kill as well as Cyber to find one, which should shred the rest of the Saints down momentarily.
Yeah, that is going to be 3 of them down, so Evil, Apostle, and Available will all have to make their move back here and kind of change their course of action, as we do see all the Saints regroup up here now and try to get a good team fight going on the way. It's a much-needed one for them to win, because at this point in time, Bryan and Stratton's already got themselves up to that sort of 70% marker, and they are still ticking. The Saints are going to have to turn things around here ASAP. Ubel is going to be one of those players that is getting peppered down ever so slightly early on here, and they're just trying to make their entry coming in right here, right now.
And there's the answer right away. The Shatter from Apostle is going to get some solid value. However, it is going to be blocked up by Sets and Vulnerability Matrix, so nobody from the side of BSC is going to end up falling. And the Saints were just straight up trying to pepper through the Blizzard coming out there from Jimical's May, and that just made things extremely difficult. Sure, G-Scales did find the one elimination onto Injustice, but other than the one player, that is basically it. A little bit of a last-ditch effort there from Cheesy just to try and get a tag onto the point. Bailable can fly on through, but of course that Echo is extremely squishy, and this first attack for Saints has been absolutely shut down for the most part, unless they can get some sort of For Glory Hail Mary kind of play, but does not look like it's going to be going into their favor. BSC going to look likely take this one.
Yeah, so there was a little bit of a contest coming through in the overtime, but I think that's all we're kind of going to see. It's going to be the first objective secured by Bryan and Stratton College there. Jimical, one of those players I really want to point out, the May from Bryan and Stratton will pop off on that first control point. They're finding lots of frags and making a lot of impact plays here to really slow St. Clair down and not allow them to come through and find that one. So regardless of that being said, it is going to be the side of BSC starting off with this 1-0 advantage over St. Clair here right now. We are going to be in the preparation phases of things here now. 15 seconds or so until we do get this one kicked off, but there's a few players I definitely want to keep my eye on going into this next point. Still, obviously going to be Jimical. Jimical did switch over off the May, though, so we got to keep an eye on that. You do have Cyber and OBL, those tanky players, the Diva and the Reinhardt, will stay on their dedicated characters, heroes, and changing a little bit from the side of St. Clair as well. We do have some small adjustments coming in. Let's see how this one goes. It is going to be everybody pushing into the control point and trying to get this early start right towards the middle.
Yeah, right towards the middle indeed. We're going to see what ends up happening in this case here. Lots of open areas, lots of close quarter combat at the same time, though, between these buildings. So interesting to see Jimco here on the Torbjorn of all things. Don't really get to see it too oftenly played in competitive. Going to be dropped down a turret at some point, and still does have some decent zone control, as we do see as of right now. BSC, the first ones to actually make their way on there, but Apostle is there to try and contest with the Hammonds, but not going to quite find the mark just yet available. Going to find an elimination there on the Jimco, taking care of the Torbjorn there. So far, actually not bad. It's still either person's game.
Yeah, still either person's game, but with the 5 players on the point and St. Clair not able to contest, it is going to allow Bryant and Stratton to start ticking here. Arjunk will be falling off the map there, and I think that might have been to just reset with his team.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that was. Okay, so he is going to get the reset there, and they are going to regroup back towards their spawn side of things, but this isn't the start you're looking for. You're going to have to make a quick turn around, or else Bryant and Stratton will be able to gain themselves quite the advantage here. So it's going to be all up to St. Clair. They're going to start their funnel through here now, and let's see how they can execute.
I mean, it wasn't a bad idea there for what the Saints were doing, kind of an outside looking in, like firing squad, but unfortunately there, that does mean you give up the points, and then as soon as you find a hole in that defense, you're kind of out of luck here. So now, from the outside looking in once again, it's going to be Bryant Stratton on the point. Saints going to be trying to push through via the bridge, but it's a very scary spot to try and go through, and Slater there with the Deadeye is going to find Bailable trying to flank, instantly taking them down. That being said, though, Arjunk, some eliminations from the support line, able to take care of both Cyber and Slater, and Apostle there as well. The Kamehameha coming out here from Set as well, going to do some decent healing, but not taking anybody down. The Saints are actually looking like they're going to be able to take this fight and flip this one back into their favor.
Yeah, that's a very good job that they did. A beautiful retake and a great execution will come through from St. Clair there. Yes, they do have Cheesy down, but the side of St. Clair is finding all the picks they need. X-Set will be dropped from the side of Bryant and Stratton, and we got ourselves a little bit of a 6v5 here right now for the Saints. Cheesy going to immediately come back as he dives in, and this is going to be great for him to, you know, kind of have the Diva to come out here and help tank for his team.
We are going to have 3 to 4 ultimates on each side as this fight does take part, and then Set there on the Moira as well. Their ultimate does come back online extremely quickly, so it's pretty easy to just expend it. Jimical going to fire out the molten core. Lots of lava all over the place. That is a rough spot to try and traverse for the time being. This point is going to get instantly flipped over, and Saints, like, nobody goes down just yet, but just due to the molten core, they had to respect it, and they're still going to fall there. Apostle dives on in, but it's too late for Bailable. Instantly shut down. Cyber is going to absolutely body Apostle up in the corner. The late Transcendence is going to be coming out here from Arjunk, try and get everybody back on point. That is a rough spot for a Diva Bomb. Cheesy is going to take out Slater with it, but a bit of a back and forth. Cyber may be the main tank, but is finding so much damage with these fire strikes that it's just so hard for the Saints to try and deal with. And sure enough, there's Set's Coalescence coming out once again.
Wow.
So quickly that thing comes back online, and that fight lasted so long that this round might be done.
Yeah, the Diva Bomb will clean up 2 from OBL, and he will follow it up with a 3rd. So OBL essentially taking out half of St. Clair's roster there, and just really locking down the point for them. This is going to be a last-ditch effort here for St. Clair. They got to hop this one. You do have one player contesting here right now, but how long is that going to last? Bailable will fall here now, and it is up to another St. Clair to make it over there and hop onto the point. The overtime is still contested, so definitely still doable, but with Set and Jimical and Slater all fighting the frags it's going to make this one even more difficult. That should wrap us up here. Now, actually, I take that back. We do have another player hopping onto the point, but with all those ones falling, that will send it to GG's. First one going to go in favor of Bryant Stratton College. It's going to be the Saints now looking to answer back.
Okay, there's the value of the Torbjorn right there, just with the molten core, making it so as soon as you even try to make your way into there, you're like taking at least half of your health, if not more, if you're not too careful. And the fact that they got 2 of those so quickly, fight after fight, just made it so that the Saints could not contest the point, and they could not get into proper position in order to engage there. Arjunk's going to find himself to play out the game after finding an elimination and getting a ton of healing after the fact with the Transcendence, but even with that play, it's not going to quite work in their favor this time by, and once again, Saints are going to be on the back foot going into game 2.
Yeah, once again on the back foot for sure. It's going to be them trying to turn things around here going into the next one. And it's not going to be easy. You know, with Bryant and Stratton, they did definitely look strong throughout that first game there and did definitely prove that they were able to hold down control points. And holding down control points is something that concerns me going into maps 2 and 3. Because if the defense is so good for a certain set point, it's going to make it very difficult for the Saints to go through and find these control points in these upcoming game modes.
No, excuse me.
No worries.
Very sorry. But yeah, anyway. Yeah, we got Hybrid coming up next, of course, and it should be very well. Maybe Eichenwald again. We could see Kings Row or something like that. And you're exactly right. If the defense is solid, I mean, you don't even get the opportunity to play that the escort part of that map. And with either of those points, like I'm trying to think of if the Torbjorn would work again. You might be able to get away with it, but it might not be optimal. But even in the first round of that first game, did not quite have it, but they were just able to constantly find the picks necessary, keep Saints on the outside looking in. Sure, it wasn't necessarily perfect. They lost a couple players here and there, like getting eliminations, but they were always, at the end of the day, winning the team fights, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, winning the team fights is definitely what matters in Overwatch, right? You might be able to find one of those small picks or two and do an impact play, but it's not really going to be that big impact play unless you can follow through and find the team wipe to actually get yourself some sort of map control and set yourself up. With that being said, I'm excited to see where we will be moving on to in this next map. I don't think we have the map as of quite yet, but we will be finding that one out shortly as these players do lobby up and ready up, and here we go. Right back to where we were on map 2 previously. This is going to be Eichenwald here in this one. So the Saints, they've had a little bit of experience on it. Maybe they can try to mimic something like UT Dallas kind of pulled off here. I'm very interested to see what they do.
Yeah, we'll have to see, of course. I mean, like, to kind of echo what I was saying during the first game, it's all about that first point and how quickly you do it to give you how many tries to then breach the bridge for the second point. But let's see if there's any sort of changes. Of course, when the Saints were on the defensive side of things in the first game, they did try to rely a little bit on the Pharmacy combo, the Fire Mercy combo, and have Bailable on that. However, it kind of got shut down. But for the attack, they tried something relatively similar to what they're doing already, though, and they're instantly putting Bailable onto the Mei rather than the Tracer this time by. So ignore the flanking, just try to breach it with Disruption instead.
Yeah, and I think that's the call, right? I mean, it's more or less the brute force call that says, hey, we're just going to force our way through here and do what we do rather than trying to play off these sneaky plays that are a little bit more skeptical. So we are going to see how this one goes. It is going to be Jimical sending in a good amount of shots. Look at this lineup. Oh my goodness. There's a reason we're casting here, Dan. We don't know those lineups like that. But it is going to be the side of the Saints looking to break in and try to find some entries. There is all 6 from Bryant and Stratton stacked up here right now. Slater going to move a little bit away here now on the Hanzo to try to find some of these crossbow shots, but it is the Saints looking to break into the control point. We actually already have some progression being made.
Yeah, but they have to make it to that first initial tick, and they do end up getting it. So even if this does fall on its face, the Saints will at least be a third of the way. Back and forth, we see Cyber there, not on the Reinhardt this time by, but on the Orisa, just absolutely brute forcing it, like point blank basically there with the rest of the Saints. But Jimical, again on the Torbjorn, does have the shotgun, like, secondary shot portion of that weapon, and that just absolutely caters to that fight. But the Saints do get a little bit of a piece of it, though.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, ticks don't matter as much in Overwatch. Like, yes, they help you capture that point, but typically if you have 3 or 4 people on the point, that point goes very quickly anyhow. But it is nice to get that little bit of progression on it, just so you don't need to do so much once you get there, and that is exactly what they are looking for. Yuba will do a good start taking down that turret from Jimical, but Jimical will follow it up with a kill on Bailable, and this is now going to leave the Saints in a 6 versus 5, but quickly answering back is Arjunk. Jimical and OBL, though, going to be finding some more of their own. Yeah,
the Shatter came out there from Apostle, but once again, kind of using it just as he was going down, more of an emergency play than anything, and does not quite find the value that he was looking for, which is going to allow everybody on the side of BSC to just shred through the rest of the Saints. And unfortunately, once again, back to the drawing board.
They need to find this one here, Dan. They need time to get this payload across the bridge. They're going to need to find this control point in the next 45 seconds or so. It's not an easy start here for them. The setup from Bryant and Stratton is looking strong, and St. Clair just needs to find a way to get past this initial building right here. Get through this bridge and now find your push on the point. You know, Bryant and Stratton's allowing them to get a lot of map control, not spawn trapping like the side of UT Dallas was. Both Dragons coming through from either Hanzo here now, and it is going to be the control point trying to get hopped onto,
Holy
but that is all blue for Bryant Stratton. 6 down for St. Clair. Bryant and Stratton doing their job.
Absolutely, and they didn't overextend. During at the beginning of that fight, Jimical still had the Molten Core, yet saw how fantastic that fight was going initially there, with OBL and Slater combining their ultimates to sweep the Saints there. And now, even if the Saints dive bomb the point, okay, do you want to dive the point on top of lava?
Yeah, it's like your call. Make your pick, right? So it's like the floor is lava. You know, those childhood games come to real life here now. But here we go. It is going to be Bailable with a nice one. Jimical going to find 2 on a Jubel and Bailable, though, so that's not going to be what you're looking for. Jeezy will be able to get the Diva Bomb kill as well, so maybe a little something. There's a few players down here for Brian Stratton, but St. Clair is overall still not in the greatest of positions. You do have Arjun here really trying to help out Apostle to stay on this contest, stay on this point, keep doing your work. He is going to be down to critical HP. He could be falling, and yes, he does. He will fall through.
Yeah, Bale was a little bit short to follow as well, but unfortunately could not get the job done, and Saints are going to be stuck in a point of trickling as well. The support line, unfortunately, we're about halfway to the point, and with BSC just diving, it's going to make it so there's going to be basically 20 seconds left on the clock for the Saints to have one more proper 6-on-6 scenario, and they don't necessarily have the tools to do it. They have a sound barrier for defense, but other than that, they're going to have to wait till Apostle has the shatter, and that could take a couple seconds into the fight.
Yeah, I don't know if they have the time for Apostle to, you know, actually get up there and get that shatter. They're going to have to make some big plays for him to do that. He's just going to come in running and gunning, though. He's going to get some good damage on early. Going to get stunned off, so he will be forced to pull up that shield, and that is going to be the shatter. He will get a little bit of work with it, knocking down the 1, and he will get a cleanup onto Injustice. Bailable will get some utility damage there on the set, and overall, this is not looking too bad for the Saints. They will be contested on the point. We are in overtime here now, so this is their last-ditch effort here. They will get this one to a second tick. Only one more tick. It looks like it should be all theirs, and this one should be over here. Now into the payload. Saints will get themselves another 2.5 minutes on the board, but that is next to nothing for time.
Yeah, so exactly. You don't have a whole heck of a lot of time to try and work with in this situation here. Jimical with a little bit of a last-ditch effort there on the Molten Core, but being able to stack the lava properly requires you to be kind of shooting close to you. Trying to do it from long range, I mean, while doable, is a little bit of a stretch, to say the least, but it's fair enough. They're going to actually switch this up because they want to combo this up here. A big flux coming out here from OBL, lifting 4 of the Saints members, cutting their health in half, and it's just going to let everybody else on the side of Brian Stratton just shred through. Jimco going to find some Injustice, OBL all going to be finding eliminations and more. It's getting shut down nice and quickly, but there are ultimates on the table for Saints' second time by.
Yeah, there's ultimates here ready. You got Cheesy, you got Cheese Skills, and you got the Bailable ult all ready to go here. Yes, there is a couple here for the side of Brian and Stratton as well, but St. Clair just got to use these to the best of their capabilities here to actually be able to find this one. So here we go. This is looking like the start of the engagement is getting ready to come through. All 5 players, all 6 coming in, and that is going to be the Dragons coming through early on. Let's see if those will have any sort of an impact. It will push some people off the payload, but other than that, not going to do a whole lot. The Hanzo from St. Clair will go down to Slater. Cheesy going to get another Diva Bomb frag, but only 1, and I don't know if that's going to be enough.
I mean, they did manage to get a couple. The Pulse Bomb's going to take Jubel out of there. Slater's going to turn this one around. It looked like it could have been Saints' fight, but Slater finding the 3K with a little bit of a melee finisher there onto Bailable as well. G-Skills is still there, but extremely low. Arjunk is nearby as well, but of course, with the shots being able to heal, it's not very good at spread AoE, to say the least. Granted, it does have the one ability, but it is a bit of a slow heal, to say the least. But with the Saints able to at least get a couple, Brian Stratton are going to retreat for the time being. They're going to be able to round the first corner, but we do have the archway up next. Another hard spot to try and breach on through, but we do have a shatter.
I believe that is why Saints just did. Oh, Jimical will ruin that one with that Hanzo ult there, taking down Argent and Jubel. Oh, so many players falling here from St. Clair. This is going to make this one extremely difficult. They're all going to fall off, and this is their last-ditch effort here once again. Yeah. They're going to regroup. They know they have just enough time, so they will try to tie as quick as possible to regroup and come in here for this final effort. You know, even if they don't get it to that second point, if you can just go as much distance as you can, make it more and more difficult for Brian Stratton to win, but we will be seeing a pause come through here now, so bear with us. But we're going to be trying to get back right into this one in just a few moments. But I mean, what a time for a pause. Oh, Jimical.
Okay, so he finds himself a double and then instantly has his PC crash from it just being such a good play, apparently. So unfortunately, the Dragon just kept on going and attacked his computer. So going to be just a quick second here to hop right back into the swing of things. From what it looks like right now, like we were saying, last-ditch effort here for St. Clair. I do believe only like 1 ultimate was on the board for them to really try and get this one done. I think it is the Shatter that is available for Apostle. I don't think he used it in the last fight. I cannot recall correctly.
He used it on the control point was the last one. He didn't use it in the last fight, so he probably has it around here again now. He hasn't used it since, so we could see it come through. That could be the big impact play.
Now, it's just a matter of timing, though, because, of course, you cannot quite get it into the like, you can't go through shields with it, right? It instantly just gets shut down. Anyone behind it is nice and safe. So it's all about finding the right angle for it. And then if the way it's been kind of been playing as of late there for Apostle, I don't know if it's just been because these opponents that we've been going up against have been like rather tough, but it feels like a solo queue. I'm going down, so I'm going to fire my shatter and see who I get.
Yeah.
And that's the, like, it sometimes gets value, but it's a very hard position to like consistently find
right.
value.
And you might be down, and you might be kind of the underdog here in these fights, but you still got to use that chatter as best as you can here, rather than just being like, all right, it's almost like fishing what he's doing with it. He's like, all right, let me see what I can get, right? Let's see what I can do here. I'll throw the line out in the water and see what I can reel back in. But yeah, it is going to be him trying to. I think that's the big thing with the Saints in this one. It's just kind of stay calm, right? Like that's the biggest thing, and one of the biggest things in esports is so much momentum based, mentality based, and like how you actually are like feeling, right? If your heart's beating fast or whatnot, right? So a lot of that is going to be a factor in this one. This probably should be lifted here fairly soon. We should be back underway once the computer does get rebooted. But wow, what a game so far!
Yeah, absolutely. Just right now, BSC just looking great, to be completely honest with you. And it's really interesting considering, like, in past seasons, BSC has been one of those teams. Well, first off, they have multiple campuses with multiple rosters, which is always a little bit hard to follow at times, but it's been a college, it's been an institution that has always kept it close regardless.
Yeah.
And seeing that everybody right now has been, like, not necessarily dominating, but in a very, very strong position, to say the least, it's interesting and good to see.
Yeah, they are definitely looking fairly good. They are definitely in that strong position. We are going to be back in this one, and it is going to be overtime right away. The Saints are already moving. Apostle 3! What a play there. The shatter going to be used just as we were talking about. It's going to be benefiting him drastically. That's going to be so many picks. All 6 are on the payload. Dan, they can move this in time. I don't know if anybody is really here to contest early on. No, this is looking beautiful for St. Clair. Dan, this is crazy.
That was literally a play of milliseconds. Cyber's shield was literally coming down as the shatter went down, but it did not deploy in time. Apostle able to knock, I believe it was 4 of the members of BSC right down on their rear, allowing for the rest of St. Clair to charge through. And they have a couple ultimates now. They might be able to spin this one around. The Blizzard going to be coming out from Bailable right away. OBL is going to be the main victim here, but actually no, Cyber is going to be the first one to go through. Diva Bomb coming out here from Cheesy, and it is going to find a tank. It's going to take OBL down, which means the front line is completely non-existent right now. As long as they could push this cart, we do see Cheesy sitting back. Does not have the ult in hand since it was just used, of course, so going to take a little bit of time, but Jimical, Dragon on point, could launch it out at any moment, and you're going to have to get off the point here. They're still got the one on there. Apostle moving forward, Dragon coming out, here we go.
Yeah, Dragon coming out, and this Dragon's going to be so big, but despite the point being only 0.14 meters away, someone hops it for literally a millisecond, and you will find it. The Saints get all 3 points after being the complete underdogs. They were stuck under the archway with 0 seconds on the clock. They bring it all the way through, capture all 3 points. Yes, there might only be 30 seconds left on the clock, but nonetheless, find all 3.
That was a insane turn of events, to say the least there, and it all started with a shatter. Apostle absolutely clutched it out. That was perfect timing. You couldn't have timed that any better if you tried to make it close. Like, that was absolutely, like, fantastic timing coming out there from Apostle, and for the Saints to be able to clean up right after the fact. Cyber probably kicking himself ever so slightly, just whether it was on cooldown or whether he was just a little bit slow on the gun. It was literally like 0.5 seconds of a difference.
Yeah, it was a very minimal difference for sure. So here we are. It's going to be the preparation time, getting ready into this one before we do actually hop underway with the second half of this one. It's going to be Brian and Stratton forced to move the payload this time around, but first it's going to start finding that control point, and you know what? Available on the Pharah, it's going to work more in this one than it will against UT Dallas. I can already see it right now. It doesn't look like Brian and Stratton are fully set up for it, and have a great counter lined up for it as well. So I do believe that, you know, the Pharah should be a little bit more useful here once again on Eichenwald.
Had they kept the composition, I would have actually countered Jen, said that they had 3 like hit scan, like high damage characters that could have very well dealt with both the Mercy and the Pharah. But by switching to the Junkrat. Have you ever tried to fire a grenade launcher into the sky and hit something? Well, that doesn't exactly work very well at all. So they might take a peek. They might insta-switch too, which would be actually extremely wise if they do opt to do so. I see a few people back there, and they do actually instantly. Okay, so they switch Jimical off to the Mei, which isn't necessarily a hard counter, but at least it's something that can shoot to the sky, and they're going to opt for some more disruption.
Yeah, that's the big thing, right? I mean, I don't know if anybody back home is trying to shoot a grenade launcher in the sky, but it doesn't work out too nicely. And it is going to be Beowulf funding a lot of group damage. I feel like that's one of the biggest benefits with this Pharah, is the fact that you're able to group up damage on several players at once, and that is exactly what he's doing here right now to try to find some early impact. But Jimical and Injustice will take down Apostle and Arjunk here early on, and make things extremely more difficult, as G-Scales and Yubel fall shortly after. Beowulf's not going to be long here, as he's going to take down in the sky. Cheesy's all that's left, and Cheesy is just running away to go back to his team. That's the control point almost instantly found. 5.5 minutes is a crazy amount of time for Bryant and Stratton to work with. That is scary for St. Clair. That
was a frustrating position there for Arjunk. Was trying to run away from the rest of Bryant Stratton, then heal from afar, but the Mei wall that came out from Jimical separated both Apostle and Arjunk, so could not keep the tank healed up and just absolutely let the front door open basically there for that point. So now the Saints trying to at least delay this one here as they make it through the archway just fine. But still, lots of damage coming through from the skies. Not necessarily the easiest way of dealing with it, but they do have options, to say the least here. They'll be all trying to eat as many of those rockets as possible. Yubel just juicing Bailable, basically. Getting them as strong as possible. Dragon Strike through basically everybody. Does it actually take anyone down? No, a little bit of damage, but takes a couple to half. But Yubel's in trouble.
Yeah, you will still somehow keep his life for now, but that is going to be Bailable, and Yubel falling to the smash there from Cyber, and that is now going to be Cheesy. Able to at least get a trade out, but OEL will find one of his own well shortly after. Apostle is going to have a lot of damage here inflicted on him as well, and that's going to be the Saints officially crumbling. And honestly, Brian and Stratton have already almost gotten this one past the bridge. They're going to be near 6 minutes to get ready for this next final push, and that is just too much time. This one, honestly, is looking very good for Brian Stratton. St. Clair is going to have to play perfect Overwatch to end this one off.
And that all started after an amazing fire strike from Cyber. He's been doing it so far all series long and found another one. Yubel was already very wounded from getting jumped on by OBL, and the fire strike cleaned him up and also cleaned up Bailable, who is in the midst of popping the ultimate. That being said, his attack is continuing to move forward here. Jimical is going to fire down the Blizzard, but nobody does go down until G-Scales actually does get caught out by the man here from Jimical. So what do they have to answer? Cheesy. Flux is going to find, I think, the tank? No, it's just going to find one in the background. And the extra combo piece there of OBL with the Diva Bomb just going to add more and more pressure here. Sure, Saints might have got themselves the 3 cap, but right now, Bryant and Stratton College are on pace to absolutely do that and shred it in regards to this time. Just barely under 5 minutes.
Yeah, 5 minutes and 17 seconds is an unreal amount of time. So now they each get a payload, and they have to move it the furthest. Whoever moves it farther will come away with the victory. However, Brian and Stratton will have 5:17. St. Clair will have 1 minute. And that is a substantial difference. 517% more time, more than you here right now. So it's going to be a very, very difficult attack coming through here if you are St. Clair. But, I mean, the big thing is your defense here now, right? Because you can get your offense in a minute. You can move this payload a decent bit in that minute, but it's Brian and Stratton have 5 minutes and 17 seconds to move what you moved in a minute.
Yeah, exactly. And this is basically 2 fights here for St. Clair. One to build alt charge, and then the second to actually get the job done here. That being said, though, you have to watch out, of course. Brian Stratton's going to have ults on deck as well, and they are opting for some slowdown, some additional disruption, just to make Saints' job even harder here. Like, you have 1 minute, but if you have to wait 5 seconds to go around a Mei wall, that's may only feel like 5 seconds, but it
feels like a lot then.
Still a ton, yeah. And nothing scares you, makes you feel more urgent, like you have to kind of overextend, than being kind of stuck on the other side.
Yes, that is for sure here. So it's all going to come down to this. We're about 5 seconds away from getting this one started, and it is going to be St. Clair forced to make this rush right away. Let's see where this Mei wall from Jimical actually does opt to go. I'm very excited to see that. So we do see some shots coming through all around, and here we go, St. Clair getting started.
Yeah, as soon as the Saints show themselves, we'll probably see it just instantly cover up here, or try to separate them maybe as well. But they deathballed it well enough, and it is going to separate it the second time around. That was actually solid positioning there from Jimko once again. It's going to be the sport line of Yubel going down right away from a nice shot from Slater. A possible front line going down as well. Cyber nearly taking one out. Going to be OBL secure one on to Hard Junk, and that is another fight won for the side of Brian and Stratton. One more Hail Mary shot here for St. Clair to try and stop this from being another series lost in preseason.
Yeah, you know, Jimmicle, we were talking about the Maywall having to have an impact there to slow things down for St. Clair, and after not seeing it early on, I was getting a little bit concerned, but executes it perfectly, will split up the Saints, takes off their POV, and it allows them now to have this one last final push. About 1 second on the clock, now going into overtime. This is all the Saints can work with. There is a couple players on point. They do have the team fight here ready to challenge, but this is essentially their last-ditch effort once again to try to capture this point. It is going to be all the players from Bryant and Stratton pushing them off. However, we do still have one player from St. Clair contesting this one right now. How long does that last? We'll find out, but the contest is no longer through, and it's back. Here we are.
Yeah, the last-ditch effort here from Bailable on the Tracer, trying to just dip dodge as much as possible, but is probably going to get down. You only have so many dashes, and it is going to get shut down. So Saints are not going to be able to get the point. They're not going to be able to get a third or any of those ticks. So now Bryant and Stratton College have 5 minutes and 17 seconds to get 1/3 of that point.
Yeah, and we know how easy that theoretically, that should be fairly easy for Bryant Stratton, right? I mean, you have essentially like a minimum of 8 team fights to come in here and try to take 1 tick with the amount of time you have on the clock here. So it's all just going to come down to St. Clair playing literally peaking in defense right now. Like, that's what we need to see. We need to see every single player bring their A game, and every single player have this control point absolutely locked down. So the hero select will be coming through for the next 40 seconds or so, and this is something that's really gonna, you know, determine the outcome of this one. The Saints, if they do come away with a game win here, a lot of this is gonna rely on the hero select.
Yeah, absolutely. And as of right now, they are just going to try to brute force this, looks like. There are a lot of heroes here that can just straight up dive on forward. And to be honest, if we remember back in their initial attack, the first point wasn't the problem. They just, well, to be honest, none of the points were the problem. But they absolutely shredded that first point on us. Very solid attack. And right now, looking at the Saints defense, at least offensively for Ubel and Bailable, they're going to pick up the same combo with the Pharmacy. But G-Scale's opting for the Ash, which of course relies a lot on long range. But there's all of these heroes on the side of Bryant and Stratton that just dive you anyway, which is going to be very difficult. It's going to rely on a lot of poke from Bailable.
Yeah, Bailable is going to have to pull off a phenomenal game here with those shots connecting. And so here we are. It is going to be him starting off with a lot of these fair shots landing onto these players from Brian Stratton. But with that being said, Brian Stratton's already on the point. This is where things get messy. This is where things get hectic. And it is going to be this point here already captured. Bailable and Apostle going to do a little bit of damage themselves. But Slater, Cyber going to come back with a few of their own. And that's going to be forcing the Saints out. There is only G-Scales and them around. That is going to wrap it up. And that is going to be Brian Stratton able to find that one there. Bailable says GG's, but he does not realize they do still have a third game ready to come around here. They forgot about that one. Yeah, I mean, I don't blame them, right? I mean, this is NECC. I'm a little surprised that we're still seeing all 3 games getting played here. Every team forgets it, too.
Yeah, because NECC, I think, is the only one that actually does it. Yeah. So it's so weird, to say the least, to remember that part of it. Now, there could be like the possibility of like 3 O's in a best of 3, but of course, like we were talking about a little bit earlier, it is more so for seeding and to help tie breaking with map differential and such like that. So a solid one once again here from Brian and Stratton. They did exactly what they need to do, and unfortunately for the Saints, that last defense pick, I know like G-Scales made the switch over to the Ash specifically, and how could he have known that they were going for a dive?
Yeah, it's one of those things, right, where you're like, okay, if I had a little bit more intel and I had a little bit more time to work with, I could have made an adjustment, but that's just not the case, simply. So, in result, it is going to be Brian Stratton, at least able to find the win in this game regardless, but now we are just going to be playing to see who finds the third. Is it going to be a 3-0 or a 2-1 is basically kind of what we're playing for here right now, so bear with us as we do get started in here. So All right, so we are going to be on Escort Gibraltar here for these two teams to end us off for the evening here. So this is going to be map 6 out of 6 for our night here. It hasn't been looking too hot for the Saints as of yet, 0-5 on the maps, but two very, very strong teams that they've been going up against.
Yeah, this absolutely shouldn't scare anybody, to say the least here, because of course, Brian Stratton, we were singing their praises earlier, UT Dallas, we were singing their praises earlier. We drew the short end of the straw, apparently, but at the same time, I guess that's how you see it, right? It's preseason, fantastic practice nonetheless, and you can try to work your strategies around players that are absolutely correct. Or you can have a preseason where you roll over somebody and you feel like you're on top of the world, go into regular season, and then get dunked. So yeah, I'd honestly rather have the hard ones right off the bat here in the preseason to kind of see where you stand and see kind of the things you have to work on. And some of the things is just unlucky even too. Like G-Scales in that last situation, they would have not known at all that they were doing dive. They did not do dive at all during the last attack. They were running stuff with May and things like that. That's not necessarily divey, but more disruptive based. And just caught him by surprise, and there would have been no way for him to scout that out, run back, and change heroes. That could have been just leaving your team into a 5-on-6, right? That would have been rough. So we'll have to see, especially now that we're going right back to Watch Point Gibraltar. Saints had themselves a really hard time here in our first game versus UT Dallas. But let's see if they can make some adjustments here for BSC.
Yeah, I think that it's going to be definitely a whole different game against BSC rather than UT Dallas. So we will see this one come to light here now. But I'm a little surprised, maybe not surprised, but it's a little interesting to see that so 2 out of 3 of the maps are the same as from the previous series. I was expecting maybe St. Clair to maybe change things up here a little bit, but no, it does look like they are confident here, still on the Gibraltar. So we will be coming through here with that one. For a reminder, the Saints do pick maps 2 and 3 for both of these series. So they this is the maps 2 and 3 are the ones that are the same. These are the maps they want to play. This
strat that they are rocking right here, right now, this is basically what UT Dallas did to them. They're going to teleport this Bastion right on and try to let them open fire. But G-Scales instantly gets popped. But at the same time, Apostle, there we go, finds a Flame Strike and an additional elimination there onto OBL, with OBL actually playing the support role. So we're actually got a little bit of a switch up here on the side of Brighton Stratton. Going to off-roll a little bit, which should be fair. Might as well warm everybody up. You never know if you have to bring in someone from the second line, and they might be a expert in a certain role, and you have to shift everybody around. So to be fair, it's not necessarily throwing, it's not trolling or nothing. There's genuine strategy to this, so fair enough on the side of Brighton Stratton. But if the couple players going down, OBL trying to make something happen here with this Ana, which should be fair, peppering Cheesy ever so slightly, but there's nobody here for any defense, and they're going to have to just try to defend this corner as best as possible.
Yeah, just as you were talking about off-roll too, I feel like we've seen it more in the NECC than any other league for Overwatch, because when we get into these map 3s, a team is already up 2-0, we will see the third map be used to practice a lot.
Absolutely.
Third maps in NECC are typically used to try out a little bit of new things. If you already secured themselves the 1-0 victory, then you do want to just try to mess around here a little bit and try some new things. So it is going to be St. Clair, only 3 meters away from securing this first little tick, but that is about 3 down for Brian and Stratton. So St. Clair will have to regroup and make another effort here now. That is very, very close, though.
Yeah, I'm trying to see, did this actually get through the tunnel or not, or are we kind of stuck? This might be a really rough spot to initially get into, unless Bailable will just find these rockets to take care of Cyber there on the Cassidy. So one big DPS player. That's a huge purple, though, coming out of OBL. No healing across the board, to say the least. That's going to be the go sign now after another elimination, this time onto Injustice. Cheesy diving on in continuously. They get to the point, and okay, solid attack there from St. Clair.
Yeah, they despite, not being able to get any of the healing through, they do still find that point, and we do have G-Skills actually on the Tracer this time and doing work. Look at that. OBL will fall. Nice little play there from G-Skills. Now payload, we're going to be moving. We're about halfway through onto our second tick here. Sorry, not halfway through. We're about a fifth of the way through onto our second tick here now, so they're trying to make their way up and through, but it is going to be Slater being able to take down G-Skills with a nice little headshot, and now Jimical getting a lot of damage down onto U-Bull, really forcing him to fall off.
Might be getting a lot of damage, but that's supposed to be the support that groups with everybody, and they're stuck on the other side of the point. This is going to be absolutely rough to try and deal with. That being said, though, that is going to be the elimination onto Apostle, but Slater also does go down. We got ourselves a juiced-up Cassidy here alongside the Coalescence, so it's going to just keep him alive this entire time while also just doing a ton of damage. Cyber, or not Cyber, that's going to be Cheesy, running for the hills on a diva, and it's going to make it out alive, but some decent distance, to say the least. We're almost at the hard part, which is that ramp.
That was a really good dive by D.Va there, being cheesy to really just get away from that fight. He would have lost his life otherwise, so that is what we do like to see. But OBL going to immediately inflict that damage right again as soon as he pokes his head out. So it is going to be Jimical just finding, all these off angles from Jimical, right? I mean, just it's inflicting so much damage on a St. Clair and really just catching them off guard. The comms are probably a little bit cluttered right now with that player all over.
I mean, sure, but at the same time, there's absolutely no value because Jimical's Moira, or Moira in general, requires you to be with the team for AoE heal in close range. So they're really relying heavily here on the support line of OBL, and OBL goes down pretty quickly here. And the Saints, with a fantastic fight, Jimical does find a couple of attacks from behind here, so is doing damage, but only getting like half the value that you should be for this hero.
Yeah, and with that being said, that's another tick gained for St. Clair. They've gotten the 2 points here now, and now just to make the final push on to the third. Let's see how they can do here now with that one. There's still lots of time for St. Clair to work with. 4 minutes is a ton of time to get this payload to the finishing point. Let's see how they can do with that one. This is St. Clair looking a lot stronger of a roster here in this map number 3, and now I wonder if that has to do with Brian and Stratton trying out new things.
Without question, they're going to be maybe a little bit less practice on this. They may not necessarily have very many situations to kind of even do this outside of scrims, right? But it does kind of show here. G-Scales has been able to find a lot of extra picks, which for the most part has been relatively shut down for the most part in this series. Graviton from Injustice is going to gobble up a couple here. Yubel does get tagged down. The Nano Boost also going to be put onto Injustice here, fully charged up, ready to go. So that beam is doing a ton of damage, but the Saints are trying to keep their distance.
Oh, wow, that is a great play from Cheesy, just forcing Jimical way back, and all that healing going for nothing. The cleanup and a 10-kill streak for Cheesy is going to shut that player down and really help provide St. Clair an opening. With that being said, Set will fall as well, and now OBL is just going to get forced out of position. Slater's trying to connect on a hook, but it's not going to come through as Bailable on the Soldier 76, just inflicting so much damage. That is going to be Slater here, almost one shot, but Jimical finding Bailable could be a problem, especially with Jimical also getting a lot of shots connected on Yubel. Cyber going to clear up a couple as well, and that is now 3 down for St. Clair.
Okay, a couple of scrappy ultimates coming out from both sides, to be fair. Going to make this really interesting, and it's going to allow BSC to kind of stop the bleeding here. They had a really, really rough time for that first initial part of this Watch Point Gibraltar defense, but now being able to stop it pretty much right on the corner, maybe a little bit further here, because normally once you get to this final straightaway, then you're kind of golden. Usually rounding the corner is the problem, so Saints getting it into a relatively distant position, but now they just have to deal with the high ground that BSC will be using.
Yeah, exactly, right? The high ground is definitely where things come into effect here in this one. This is Bailable on a huge flank. He's got to do a lot of damage. Not enough to get the frag, though. And as it is going to be Cyber being able to sneak away here on the Cowboy. Then McCree trying to get out of here. And, I mean, Jimical just is still inflicting so much damage here. Cheesy going to finally get a trade out, but OBL is just using the sniper like madman here right now, finding all of these picks as Cyber will find another one. And St. Clair is almost forced to regroup here once again.
Yeah, very, very solid defense once again here from Bryant and Stratton. Just not only had the high ground, but had the high ground in multiple different positions, which just made things extremely difficult. And then Jimical is playing this Moira like you would a Tracer, and it's absolutely hilarious. I'll give him props for it because it is actually a massive nuisance because it's a slow but steady damage there with that purple beam. Cheesy, though, is going to take care of Set. So the Doomfist has been put off the board here, but it is going to be also answered as Cyber getting taken down from that Pulse Bomb. G-Scales are going to find that pick, and that is rough for Bailable. Pop the Tac Visor and a huge Sleep Dart coming out from OBL, making it so that Bailable gets absolutely no value out of that ultimate.
Yeah, that sleep dart was huge for it to connect and for it to, be used well. Bailable had the ult pulled out, and none of that ult being able to be used to his favor. We do see Apostle falling off here. Bailable trying to get away and just regrouping for yet another team fight. And it is a little bit of a sticky situation to be in, to be quite honest, but there is still definitely a very good chance they can get this final push needed. The payload has been moved back to quite a bit here now, to be completely honest, so they don't have to move it back as much. But I mean, St. Clair, let's see what they can do. They only have 30 seconds on the clock here now.
Yeah, Arjunk's going to pop the nano boost. I'm not 100% sure exactly who it actually went on to, but it is going to basically be a bit of a trade-off here with Bailable and G-Scales finding two, but at the same time, so does Brian Stratton. Jimical again with the flanking Moira, going to find Bailable, who is trying to do a bunch of damage from the side too. So with 15 seconds left on the board, they might not get a 6v6, but they need to try and push to this card.
Yeah, Cheesy does a good start, right? Finding that one initial pick is very, very good. Now he's just trying to find some shots here, and he will connect on a bunch. Set actually going to get tagged down quite drastically. We are in overtime, so we will have to see a contest come through from St. Clair here now, and it initially was, but now nobody on that point. Can anybody get there in time?
Nope.
Doesn't look to be the case. St. Clair will get 2 points with about 80 meters remaining here onto the last one. Ryan and Stratton, all up to them here now. This is literally going to determine if this is going to be a 3-0 or a 2-1.
Yeah, and to be fair, that was a good push there for St. Clair. Getting it to that point is very, very solid in its own right. You do see here, Brian Stratton, they did kind of push it back around a corner. So, like, not going to get as much distance as they were hoping for. But getting it to this third point is often, or getting 2 points rather, here on Watch Point Gibraltar is oftentimes a struggle in itself because of all the high ground that the defense gets to play around with. But Brian Stratton has shown that they've been a fantastic squad so far here in this series, so I would not be surprised that they'll be knocking on that distance's doorstep in moments time.
Yeah, I really think here, Dan, that this one is going to come down. It's going to be 2-2, and neither team is going to get the third. It's going to come down to the distance, right? Yeah. It's going to come down to how far can Brian and Stratton get that one. Now, here's the thing. Brian and Stratton, I feel like also personally have a little bit of an advantage here going on second, right? Because St. Clair already got it past the distance they pushed, and it got sent back. Where Brian and Stratton get it past the distance that St. Clair pushed, it's instantly over, and Brian and Stratton win. So you have a little bit of a heads-up advantage in that side of things, but other than that, I mean, it is still pushed fairly far here from St. Clair, and Brian and Stratton will still have a good amount of work to do. Exactly. It goes based off of where it finished, not where you peaked. So a couple extra meters that Brian Stratton don't have to worry about here, but we're going to see a relatively similar lineup here. Bailable is actually going to be on the Tracer Act instead of the Soldier, and G-Skill is going to take the Soldier this time by. But so far, relatively uncontested. A little bit of a bunker down here for Injustice. Going to get jumped on by Bailable a little bit. Of course, not going to be able to burst him down. But so far, this fight's looking like it's Saints favored. Yeah, G-Skills and Apostle will find the early ones. A nice little headshot from G-Skills actually taking down OBL. And the Soldier 76 is definitely working out there well for him, as he does follow it up with Set falling as well. Injustice and Slater will take down Bailable and Arjunk, though. So we do have ourselves a little bit of an even gunfight. G-Skills will get hooked, but he does find all the damage required regardless to take down Slater, and Jim getting a trade out onto Ubel. So honestly, very even start. Yeah, and then all of these trades, though, that Brian Stratton have been pulling off, every single time Saints die, they have to run all the way back, which is just extra distance that gets put on the cart for free, basically. Even though they've been traded basically 1-for-1, the fact that BSC can get back into the game so quickly is just fantastic. Yes, exactly. So G-Skills going to find yet another. He will finally get traded out from Slater. He's been trying to find G-Skills for quite a while now, so Slater definitely probably happy to have that one through. GC will be demeched and hasn't been cleaned up yet, so he will be able to still keep his life as of right now. Bailable will getting a trade out onto Cider. The Tracers and Co. are doing so much work. Set trying to get all these shots in, but it's not going to really work out to his liking. Cheesy, the only one down here from St. Clair right now, and Slater, oh my goodness. Yeah, Slater on a bit of a tear, and then Jimical again with the flanking Moira play, meaning that any reinforcements that St. Clair are trying to bring back into this fight are going to be cut off by somebody and take damage before they even get themselves into the fight. And then Jimical could just keep healing himself back up. It's A-okay for him, like no real risk, and you do have the Fade that can bring you like invincible for just a moment's time. Good little shot there, though. Injustice going to get sent to the Shadow Realm basically after a solid shot there from Apostle's Primal Rage. So they finally get themselves a solid fight. Going to slow down this BSC push for just a touch. But it looks like if I'm going off of Jimical, it looks like he's just having a blast back here. Yeah, Jimical is just vibing. He's been vibing all series long. Like, Jimical, like, he's like, oh, what, you guys are calming to me right now? Oh, sorry, my bad. I'm just doing my own thing on the other side of the map. But no, yeah, Jimical definitely having the time of his life. Cheesy will finally take him down. And honestly, Brian and Stratton only have a minute 20. Yes, they don't want to push it too far, but this next little push is a very tough spot to get through. Yeah, I just imagine. I need healing. No. I need healing. No. I'm having too much fun back here.
But still, the attack going on through. Diva Bomb coming out here from Cheesy. Not going to quite find anybody this time by, but Bailable does find Injustice out of position. Going to charge in right through the room. And of course, scrappy scenario. Saints absolutely love that kind of situation. So they've been able to take care of it, at least so far. A little bit of a trade back and forth as Bailable does find himself out of position as well. Gets taken down for the time being. But just going to take to the high ground and wait for everybody to group back up. The cart on the doorsteps of that first point, but can they actually get it?
Yeah, it's on that doorstep for sure, but it's been on that doorstep for quite a while. So if the Saints can just kind of maintain with what they've been doing right now, they definitely should be able to get a good cleanup. However, the big problem is right now is, you know, if this one does go to overtime, the Saints will have to get a full team wipe to allow and stop the contest, which is where things are really going to be hard, because Saints are doing a really good job right now finding 1-for-1 or finding 1 or 2 picks, but now that's going to be Set in Slater going in, Jimical coming here to help, and that should be it to send it through. That's going to be the first point on the board. Saints, it's getting a little bit scarier here now, right? They got the first one through, and they have 2.5 minutes, but, I mean, yeah, Brian and Stratton don't have a crazy amount of time. St. Clair's got to use that to their advantage.
I can imagine the comms right now. Thanks for finally healing me, Jimical. Finally gets himself into the group, and everybody stays alive. What a concept. But still, nonetheless, has ult right back in hand, too, and if they do funnel, this is going to do a ton of damage and healing, of course, depending on which side you are on here. And with 2 minutes on the clock here, still lots of time here for Bryant and Stratton to get past this really rough spot, just past the ship. And there it is, the nano-boosted Coalescence is actually the go-to play. You normally do not see that, but I love what Bryant and Stratton are doing.
Yeah, for sure. They're already almost near the second tick here. It's only been 35 seconds since they got that first one, and they've already got it to about 75% of the way to go into this next one. So here we go. Now it is going to be available following in 5 players from St. Clair ready to go and fight here. Apostle just trying to do whatever he can to tag down Jimical, but it hasn't been easy all game long. Yubel doing a nice job taking down the Tracer from the side of Bryant and Stratton. That's exactly what you need to start. Can you follow it up with more? 1.5 minutes, and they're already on the doorstep.
Yeah, Slater looking for a bit of a flank. Find a squishy with that hook, and they're absolutely toast, but may not even necessarily need to. Set there on the Reaper with the shotguns. You want to do a brawly point-blank style? Well, Reaper is absolutely king in that kind of scenario, and that's going to make things very difficult. That being said, our junk does eventually shut him down, but lots of low health bars here on the Saints side of things. Cheesy is going to get taken down, so does Bailable, and basically everybody on the side of Saints gets taken down here. So we have 2 points. We have 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Just have to defend the top of the hill.
Yeah, just have to defend the top of the hill for sure. And are you sure it's not peak?
It might be
payload movement.
Nope, it is peak payload movement.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, so it is actually going to be a little bit good there for St. Clair in that regard. You know, Brian and Stratton is forced to move it a little further. So now we are going to see things here try to go on the defense side of things even stronger for St. Clair. 2 minutes to get it past the St. Clair point. All comes down to this. We will know our winner here in the next 1.5 minutes, or 2 minutes, sorry.
Yeah, of course, still always remembering and always learning things here on the broadcast. I have absolutely no problem being wrong here. You see the glowing spot right on the outside. That's exactly where Brian and Stratton need to get this. But with everybody kind of trickling in right now, they're not going to be able to do it. They need to hang on a second, group up, and it looks like they are going to slow it down here for just a second. 1:30 basically on the clock. They have 6 ultimates. Oh, God.
Yeah, that's the scary part, right? As Brian Stratton has just been absolutely stacking these ultimates. We haven't seen not one get used yet until Injustice will be popping his and trying to find some sort of an impact play with it. As it is going to be Jimical taking down Cheesy. Apostle will trade out Set at least. So now in a 5-on-5, but a lot of these players from St. Clair are going to be getting shot down here slowly. Cyber, Slater, each going to find a pick of their own. And now with that being said, Cyber actually going to lose his life there. Injustice takes down G-Scales. This payload is moving here, Dan. St. Clair is going to have to make some sort of a big play coming up right here, right now. Bailable will have his ult and it will be popped. Everybody's popping their ults here. We just saw like 10 ults get used in the matter of 20 seconds.
Well, yeah, I hope the payload is being pushed if you've blown 6 ultimates on it. Definitely, like, rough in regards to ult economy, but in theory, like, you take everybody down, it should be a free push, but it isn't actually right now. It's not getting the kind of value that they're looking for. Cheesy here with the Flux is going to hold up some of the tank line and delay them for just a bit. Nano Boost from OBL is going to be put onto Slater on this Roadhog. Lots of close range damage there. Get a hook on somebody. That is basically an insta-kill at that point there when you're boosted like that. But still, constantly contested, time ticking down, less than 30 seconds, boulder to the face. Okay, nicely done there from Cheesy. And so far, the Saints have weathered the storm and have successfully defended it. Just need to do it a little bit longer.
Yeah, Slater will take down Bayable here now. 15 seconds on the clock. It all comes down to this here. And for everyone at home, but that is set in Slater. Going to town, a 5-player kill streak. G-Scales is forced off from Jimical. This is looking good for Brian and Stratton, only needing a couple more meters and a couple more seconds on the clock. Brian and Stratton will do it and will lock in the 3-0 victory over St. Clair College. Wow, what a try. What a try. That is going to be the side of Brian and Stratton cleaning up in dominant fashion. We also do see the Mora diff there from
That's what I was laughing at,
Jimical. Yeah, the Brian and Stratton definitely having some fun with this one. But that, honestly, that's part of what preseason's for.
Yeah, absolutely. Holy flick there coming out of Slater, actually, and then finding the hook right after. Nicely done to get to play the game in that regard. But that was an entertaining game.
Yeah.
Number 3, seeing some strategies that I would definitely not advise actually doing, but looked extremely fun in the process. I've not seen Flank Moira. Well, I'm actually, no, I play in bronze. Of course I've seen Flank Moira. but seeing it actually be effective is a whole nother story. So honestly, props to Jimco and the rest of the side of BSC. That was an entertaining one at the very least. They've definitely shown that they are a very strong team to watch out for here in NECC. But that being said, though, Saints absolutely kept toe-to-toe for the most part. There's a few moments where the BSC squad were kind of able to shine, but they're still toe-to-toe with them on any given day. They could probably take a couple maps, if not a series.
Yeah, despite being down in all these maps here today, St. Clair still getting some good practice and still getting some good work in throughout the preseason / off-season, whatever it may be. So still, the grind is there, and you're definitely seeing the NECC has some tough competition here going into this season. So gonna be getting very, very much so ready for that one in that regard. And yeah, we're gonna be wrapping things up here now slowly for the night after a big day of Overwatch, but going into the weekend, I want to talk a little bit about what we got planned ahead of us here. We got a doubleheader for League of Legends. I believe that is tomorrow night. Yes. That is going to be 2 best-of-1 games. Saturday, we should have 1 best-of-5, and then on the Sunday, we should have a Rocket League tournament all day long. So bear with us. We got a lot of action coming to your guys' way this weekend. League of Legends and Rocket League is on the agenda, and I know personally I'll be on the mic for all of those except for maybe some of the League ones. We'll see what's going on with League, but I know I'll be there.
You want to be on for the League ones?
Yeah. Well, yeah, there we go. I guess I'm on the League ones. So here we go. But regardless, with that being said, overall, GG's all around. There's a lot to take away from this one for both sides, and GG's all around.
Yeah, absolutely. And this one looked much more doable there for the Saints compared to what UT Dallas did. Yeah, and it was kind of what we were thinking would happen, because once again, we knew Brian Stratton was going to be a tough one. But it was still absolutely winnable. Just a couple of solid plays could definitely make the difference in those regards. But that being said, like you're saying, still plenty of action coming up this weekend. And do want to give a couple of thank yous and a couple of shout-outs. First off, the shout-outs to Crunchyroll, actually, for sponsoring us once again. Of course, joined us in September. Your Netflix of anime, sort of speak. And I know personally, I still need to make my my watch list for the for this, because basically, other than Death Note, I'm basically an anime noob. So looking forward to giving it a try at crunchyroll.com/Saints. Get yourself a 14-day premium trial. See what's there. Maybe try something that you're not used to watching, to say the least. Give the dramas a break and try something anime related. But of course, also a big thank you to the other sponsors on board as well. That being, of course, the St. Clair SRC, St. Clair College Alumni Association, Subway, Tim Hortons, and of course the Zeckelman School of Business and Information Technology. And the last, or second last, thank you rather, is going to go out to everybody tuning in. Overwatch and the community itself has been always extremely supportive of our Saints, and we could not thank you enough for tuning in and supporting them. Lastly, the thank you to everybody working the broadcast here today. Big thank you to Jackson for casting alongside me once again. Big thank you to Donka for directing and observing after we've had almost a nearly catastrophic technical issue within the last couple of seconds before setting up, but absolutely killed it. Thank you so much. And that's it from me. Yeah,
that's it from you. I got one thing to talk about still. You know, I might not have a lot of the merch on here right now, but I still want to talk about it. You guys can get your Saints merch at acquire.ca/Saints. We got everything, being jerseys, jackets, t-shirts, crew necks, hoodies, jackets, masks, flags, anything you can imagine. Acquire.ca/Saints. It's all very affordable, all very comfy, and it's a great way to try to represent your Saints and support your Saints if you do want to out in public and stuff and whatnot as well. So Saints merch, acquire.ca/Saints. I know you got a lot of it on here right now. And how's that feel, Dan?
It feels very, very warm.
That's what we like to hear. That's what we like to hear. So,
and this room's supposed to be cold, and yet I still feel very, very warm. So if I'm not necessarily a salesman.
Yeah.
But do it. It's comfy.
But do it. It's comfy. Hey, that's a salesman pitch if I've ever heard. So that will be wrapping us up here for this evening, though. Thank you guys so much for tuning in with us on Saints Gaming CA here with our NECC preseason Overwatch matches. My name is Jackson Pride Brown, joined alongside Dan, Mr. Danner's Banner. We were having a blast casting for you guys all tonight, and we'll catch you guys all on the next one.